Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first video of the Renaissance Thursday series. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Regina Lahab. I want to first say that I am thankful to my 15 subscribers. My next goal is to have 50 subscribers. Now, on to the video. This video is about Gordon Parks, who I consider to be the Renaissance father. He was a very phenomenal man, and so without further ado, I will show you the video so that you can learn more about Gordon Parks. Gordon Parks once commented that he made it a point not to rely on only one source of income. This was very evident with Gordon Parks, who had five talents: photographer, published book author and poet, movie producer, director, and screenwriter, music composer, and art painter. Gordon Roger Alexander Buchanan Parks became prominent in U.S. documentary photojournalism in the 1940s through 1970s, particularly in issues of civil rights, poverty, and African Americans, and in glamour photography. He is best remembered for his iconic photos of poor Americans during the 1940s, taken for a federal government project, for his photographic essays for Life magazine, and as the director of the films Shaft, Shaft's Big Score, and the semi-autobiographical The Learning Tree. The National Film Registry citation mentions The Learning Tree as the first feature film by a Black director to be financed by a major Hollywood studio. Parks was one of the first Black American filmmakers to direct films within the Hollywood system, developing films relating the experience of struggling Black Americans and helping create the blaxploitation genre. Gordon Parks was born in Fort Scott, Kansas, the son of Andrew Jackson Parks and Sarah Ross on November 30th, 1912. He was the youngest of 15 children. His father was a farmer who grew corn, beets, turnips, potatoes, collard greens, and tomatoes. Yeah, I know. I'm sounding like the Shirley Caesar song. They also had a few ducks, chickens, and hogs on the family farm. He attended a segregated elementary school. When Parks was 11 years old, three white boys threw him into the Marmontan River, believing he couldn't swim. He had the presence of mind to duck underwater so they wouldn't see him make it to land. His high school had both black and white students because the town was too small for segregated high schools. However, black students were not allowed to play sports or attend school social activities, and they were discouraged from developing aspirations for higher education. Parks related in a documentary on his life that his teacher told him that his desire to go to college would be a waste of money. His mother died when he was 14. He spent his last night at the family home, sleeping beside his mother's coffin, seeking not only solace, but a way to face his own fear of death. Soon after, he was sent to St. Paul, Minnesota, to live with a sister and her husband. He and his brother-in-law argued frequently, and Parks was finally turned out onto the street to fend for himself at the age of 15. Struggling to survive, he worked in brothels. For those of you who don't know what a brothel is, a brothel was a place where men engaged in relationships with prostitutes. Before becoming a photographer, Gordon was a Renaissance person. Gordon was a singer, piano player, busboy, traveling waiter, and semi-pro basketball player. Gordon began his career as a photographer in the 1930s after purchasing a camera from a pawn shop and taught himself how to take photos. The photography clerks who developed Gordon's first roll of film applauded his work and prompted him to seek a fashion assignment at a women's clothing store in St. Paul, Minnesota. Those photographs caught the eye of Marva Lewis, wife of heavyweight boxing champion Joe Louis. She encouraged Gordon to move to Chicago in 1940, where he began a portrait business and specialized in photographs of society women. Parks' photographic work in Chicago, especially in capturing the myriad experiences of African Americans across the city, led him to receive the Julius Rosenwald Fellowship in 1942, paying him $200 a month and offering him his choice of employer, which in turn contributed to being asked to join the Farm Security Administration, which was chronicling the nation's social conditions.
Photography was a way in which I could express my own feelings. I might have turned to the gun or the knife, but by then I had chosen the camera.
Gordon Parks said, quote, "Photography was my choice of weapons. I saw that the camera could be a weapon against poverty, against racism, against all sorts of social wrongs. I knew at that point I had to have a camera. I picked up a camera because it was my choice of weapons against what I hated most about the universe: racism, intolerance, poverty," unquote. While working at the Farm Security Administration, Gordon began his career as a government documentary photographer during the Great Depression. In 1941, Parks became the first African American photographer to work for the Farm Security Administration, where he captured images of poverty and segregation. Gordon's most iconic photograph, titled American Gothic, Washington, D.C., photographed in 1942, portrays a government cleaning woman, Ella Watson, holding a broom and mop in front of an American flag. This image became a symbol of racial inequality and social justice. His photo essay on the Fontenelle family living in poverty in Harlem exposed the harsh realities faced by African Americans. After the Farm Security Administration disbanded, Gordon worked with the Office of War Information. During this period, Gordon's photographs captured the struggles and resilience of everyday people, particularly African Americans. Following his resignation from the Office of War Information, Parks moved to Harlem and became a commercial, fashion, and civic photographer. By the mid-1940s, he was working as a freelance photographer for publications such as Vogue, Glamour, and Ebony. Gordon's fashion photography was groundbreaking, blending elegance with social commentary. He challenged stereotypes by capturing Black models in high fashion settings. As a photo photographer, he developed the distinctive style of photographing his models in motion rather than in static poses. Gordon was hired in 1948 as a staff photographer for Life magazine, and portraits of influential figures like Malcolm X. While his best-known work was as a photographer and filmmaker, Gordon was an accomplished writer of memoirs, poetry, and novels, publishing 20 books in his lifetime. Writing was, in fact, his most personal and intimate form of expression throughout his life. As a staff photographer for Life, Gordon was periodically asked to contribute articles, many of which accompanied his photo essays, an unusual role for any photographer. Some of Gordon's earliest published works include 2 books on photography techniques. In 1963, he published The Learning Tree, a semi-autobiographical account of a black boy growing up in segregated Kansas. The book was later adapted into a Hollywood feature film 6 years later, which Parks wrote, directed, and scored. I will talk more about this movie later in this video. The Learning Tree book was followed by the autobiography A Choice of Weapons, published in 1966, and then by A Poet and His Camera, published in 1968, a collection of poetry with color photographs. In 1971, Parks published Born Black, which featured 9 essays he wrote for Life, accompanied by a selection of photographs. Following several published memoirs and autobiographies, Parks published Glimpses Towards Infinity and Arias in Silence, which showcased his later abstract photographic work alongside his writing. Parks continued to art their works throughout his life, spending several of his last years researching the life of the English Romanticist painter Joseph Mallord William Turner, on whom his final novel, The Sunstalker, a work of historical fiction, is based. Also, it should be noted that in 1970, Parks helped found Essence magazine and served as its editorial director during the first 3 years of its publication. If you all are still watching this video, thank you! Please hit the like button to this video and subscribe to this channel. In the 1950s, Gordon worked as a consultant on various Hollywood productions. He later directed a series of documentaries on African American inner city life that were commissioned by the National Educational Television. Gordon produced and directed the film adaptation of his semi-autobiographical novel, The Learning Tree, in 1969 for Warner Brothers 7 Arts. It was filmed in his hometown of Fort Scott, Kansas. Gordon also wrote the screenplay and composed the musical score for the film with assistance from his friend, the composer Henry Brandt. Shaft, a 1971 detective film directed by Gordon and starring Richard Roundtree as John Shaft, became a major hit that spawned a series of films that would be labeled as blaxploitation. Gordon's feel for settings was confirmed by Shaft with his portrayal of the super cool, leather-clad black private detective hired to find the kidnapped daughter of a Harlem racketeer. Parks also directed the 1972 sequel, Shaft's Big Score, in which the protagonist finds himself caught in the middle of rival gangs of racketeers. Parks' other directorial credits include The Super Cops, which was released in 1974, Leadbelly, a biographical film of the blues musician Puddy Ledbetter, which was released in 1976, and The Odyssey of Solomon Northup, the story of a free black person sold into slavery, which was released in 1984. In the 1980s, he made several films for television and composed the music, script, and song lyrics for Martin, a ballet tribute to Martin Luther King Jr., which premiered in Washington, D.C. during 1989. It was screened on national television on Dr. King's birthday in 1990. In the year 2000, As an homage, Gordon had a cameo appearance in the Shaft sequel that starred Samuel L. Jackson in the title role as the namesake and nephew of the original John Shaft. In the cameo scene, Parks was sitting playing chess when Jackson greeted him as Mr. P. Prior to Gordon's musical compositions for the Dr. King Ballet Tribute, The Learning Tree, and Shaft, Gordon had other musical compositions beginning in the 1930s. His first job was as a piano player in a brothel when he was a teenager. Gordon also performed as a jazz pianist. His song, No Love, composed in another brothel, was performed during a national radio broadcast by Larry Funk and his orchestra in the early 1930s. In 1953, Parks composed Concerto for Piano and Orchestra at the encouragement of Black American conductor Dean Dixon and Dixon's wife Vivian, a pianist, and with the help of the composer Henry Brant. While Gordon Parks is best known for his photography, he was also a talented painter. Parks began painting at a young age and continued to create art throughout his life alongside his work as a photographer, musician, and writer. Parks' paintings often reflected his experiences growing up in a segregated society and his observations of the world around him. He used art as a form of expression and as a way to explore themes of race, identity, and social justice. Parks' photography-related abstract oil paintings were showcased in a 1981 exhibition at Alex Rosenberg Gallery in New York titled Gordon Parks Expansions, the aesthetic blend of painting and photography. In Gordon's latter years in the 1990s, Gordon continued to paint. However, his painting style changed to abstract compositions. The dreamlike and impressionistic aspect of Parks' color landscape photography, combining elements of painting, sculpture, and photography, these compositions often included floral still lifes, tree twigs, flower petals, leaves, and soft fabrics were among his favorite subjects, positioned before brightly colored and dramatically lit backgrounds. Despite his advancing age, Parks made these images at a remarkable rate, claiming he felt compelled to create his own hills, mountains, and valleys. These exploratory works provide a poetic conclusion to his career, the last expressions of his singular creativity. Gordon said, quote, "And I think that after nearly 85 years upon this planet, that I have a right, after working so hard at showing the dissolution and the poverty, to show something beautiful for somebody as well," unquote. These paintings are depicted in his book, Half Past Autumn, which was published in 1997. Gordon received over 200 awards and 56 doctorates throughout his career for his contributions to the arts, civil rights, and culture. Here's a list of some key awards and recognitions he earned. Gordon Parks had 4 children. One of his children was his son, Gordon Parks Jr., who was the director of the 1972 movie Superfly. Sadly, Gordon Parks Jr. preceded Gordon in death when he died in a 1979 plane crash. Gordon Parks died at the age of 93 in March 7, 2006. At the time of Gordon Sr.'s death, he was survived by his son David, his daughters Tony and Leslie, 5 grandchildren, and his longtime girlfriend Gloria Vanderbilt. Gordon Parks' work, particularly in film and photography, broke racial barriers and profoundly impacted both the art world and American society. Gordon used his art to advocate for social change. His lens captured both beauty and injustice. His legacy extends beyond photography, inspiring generations of artists and activists. In summary, Gordon Parks was not only a talented photographer, but also a visionary storyteller who used his lens to illuminate the human experience and advocate for equality. Thank you all for watching the video. I would like to have your feedback regarding this video, so please feel free to write your comments in the comments section below. Also, if you would like to recommend a famous person for the Renaissance Thursday series, please submit their name in the comments section. And the requirements is that the person has to have 2 or more talents. And it doesn't have to be a famous person in the United States only. It could be a famous person that you know of who is in Italy, South Africa, Cuba, to name a few. Just anywhere in the world that you know of a famous person who has 2 or more talents. And if you would like to recommend that person for the Renaissance Thursday series, again, put their name in the comments section and I will give you a shout out in the video that I have regarding that person. And also please like, share, and subscribe.